My billionaire CEO's company audited my business and found I'd been raising our twins. How old is she? 6. Her birthday is February 14th. And there was silence. The kind of silence that stretches like a rubber band pulled too tight, ready to snap and leave wounds. Jasper Sterling stood frozen in the middle of Sunrise Bakery, his $3,000 suit looking absurd against the backdrop of chalkboard menus and mismatched vintage chairs. His face had gone the color of old paper, and Beverly watched him do the mathematics in his head. Watched him count backward from February, 9 months, landing exactly where she knew he would land. June. 7 years ago. Right when everything between them had shattered into pieces too small to ever reassemble. They're mine. It was not a question. Beverly Hills lifted her chin, her dark hair pulled back in a braid that said professional rather than defeated, her apron dusted with flour from the morning's cinnamon rolls. She had spent 7 years preparing for this moment, rehearsing it in the shower, in her car, in the quiet hours after the twins fell asleep. And now that it was here, now that Jasper Sterling was standing in her bakery looking like someone had removed his skeleton, she found that all her practiced speeches had evaporated. Biologically, she said, her voice steady despite the earthquake in her chest. In every other way that matters, that remains to be seen. There's another one. Jasper's voice cracked on the words. You said check on your brother. There's another one. His name is Micah. They're twins. The word hung in the air like smoke from a fire that had been burning for 7 years, hidden, contained, and now suddenly exposed to oxygen. Twins. Jasper repeated the word like he had never heard it before. I have twins. I have 2 children. For 7 years, I have had 2 children, and I did not know they existed. And whose fault is that? The question cut through the bakery's warmth like a blade. Beverly had not meant to say it, had not meant to let her anger show so early in this conversation, but there it was. 7 years of raising 2 children alone. 7 years of midnight fevers and first steps and birthday parties where she was the only parent. 7 years of explaining to curious neighbors and well-meaning teachers that no, there was no father in the picture, and no, she did not want to talk about it. Whose fault indeed? Before we go any further, before I tell you how Beverly Hills ended up standing in her small-town bakery facing the billionaire who had no idea he was a father, I need you to understand something. This is not a fairy tale. This is not a story about perfect people making perfect choices. This is a story about survival, about secrets, about the impossible mathematics of love and loss and second chances. If you have ever hidden something to protect yourself. If you have ever had your past walk through the door when you least expected it. If you have ever wondered whether some wounds are too deep to ever heal. Then this story is for you. My name is Mr. Dawson, and I tell stories about real people navigating impossible situations. Stories with heart, with pain, with lessons that might just change how you see your own life. So settle in. Turn off your notifications. This one is going to take you on a journey you will not forget. Now let me take you back. 3 days before Jasper Sterling walked into Sunrise Bakery and had his entire world rearranged. 3 days before Beverly's carefully constructed life began to crack at the foundations. It started, as so many catastrophes do, with a letter. The morning sun was just beginning to paint the sky in shades of orange and pink when Beverly Hills unlocked the front door of Sunrise Bakery, her keys cold against her flour-dusted fingers. 4 in the morning. The hour when sensible people were still asleep, wrapped in warm blankets and peaceful dreams. But Beverly had not been sensible in 7 years. Sensible did not build a business from nothing. Sensible did not raise twins alone while learning to pipe frosting and balance accounts and fix leaky pipes at 2 in the morning because plumbers cost money she did not have. Sensible was a luxury for people whose lives had not imploded. The bakery was silent, the kind of silence that felt sacred in the pre-dawn dark. Beverly moved through her opening routine with the efficiency of long practice. Ovens preheating. Dough rising in proofing drawers. The massive mixer beginning its slow rotation, combining flour and butter and sugar into something that would become cinnamon rolls by the time the first customers arrived. Upstairs, in the small apartment that sat above the bakery like a crown on a queen's head, her children were still sleeping. Maya would be curled around her collection of stuffed dragons, purple blanket tangled around her legs. Micah would be sprawled across his bed, one arm hanging off the edge, a book about architecture probably fallen to the floor where he had dropped it when sleep finally claimed him. Her children. Her entire world compressed into 2 small bodies with bright eyes and endless questions and the absolute certainty that their mother could handle anything. They did not know about Jasper Sterling. They did not know that their mother had once loved a man so completely that losing him had nearly destroyed her. They did not know that their green eyes, so striking against their brown skin, were inherited from a billionaire who did not know they existed. Some secrets, Beverly had decided long ago, were kindness disguised as lies. The mail came early, slipped through the slot in the door while Beverly was wrist-deep in bread dough. She heard it fall, the soft whisper of paper against the worn wooden floor, and something in her stomach tightened for no reason she could name. Later, she would think about that moment. The way her hands had paused in the dough. The way her heart had stuttered like it knew something her brain had not yet processed. The way the morning light had suddenly seemed less warm, less safe. She wiped her hands on her apron and crossed to the door, bending to collect the scattered envelopes. Electric bill. Water bill. A postcard from her mother in Florida, the handwriting loopy and cheerful. Visit soon, sweetheart. The beach misses you. And then. Sterling Industries. Compliance review. Mandatory financial assessment. The words blurred as Beverly stared at them, her heart hammering against her ribs like something trying to escape. Sterling Industries. Of all the corporations in all the world. Of all the commercial properties they could have acquired, all the small-town bakeries they could have subjected to their corporate machinery. They had found her. No. She shook her head, forcing logic through the panic. This is routine. The building changed ownership. They audit all their properties. This has nothing to do with Jasper. He probably does not even know this bakery exists. He probably does not even remember you exist. But her hands were shaking as she stuffed the letter into her apron pocket, and the cinnamon rolls that came out of the oven that morning were slightly overbaked, their edges too dark, too sharp. Like her mood. Like her memories. Like the past that had suddenly reached out to remind her that you could run, but you could never truly hide. Mama, your worry face is showing again. Maya's voice cut through Beverly's spiraling thoughts, sweet and observant and absolutely inconvenient. Her daughter stood in the kitchen doorway, purple pajamas rumpled, dark hair a wild halo around her face. At 6 years old, Maya had inherited Beverly's emotional intuition and Jasper's striking green eyes, a combination that meant she could read moods the way other children read picture books. I am not worried, baby. Beverly forced a smile, crossing to the prep table where the morning's pastries waited for frosting. Just thinking about grown-up things. Grown-up things are always worrying things. Maya climbed onto her usual stool, purple apron already in hand. That is why I am going to stay a kid forever. From behind her, a snort of derision announced Micah's arrival. You cannot stay a kid forever. That is not how biology works. He shuffled into the kitchen, architecture book already tucked under his arm despite the early hour. Where Maya was all emotion and color, Micah was angles and analysis. He noticed everything, questioned everything, and accepted nothing at face value. Is it bad news? He asked, his dark eyes fixed on Beverly with uncomfortable intensity. You have that look you get when bills are due. No bad news. Just business stuff. Adults always say it is nothing when it is something. Micah settled at the prep table across from his sister, already reaching for the bowl of sprinkles Maya was organizing by color. You do not have to protect us from everything, Mama. We are 6, not stupid. The words hit Beverly like a gentle blow. When had her children become so perceptive? When had they learned to see through her careful facades? I know you are not stupid. She kissed the top of Micah's head, then Maya's. I also know that some problems are for grown-ups to solve. When I need your help, I will ask. Okay. Okay. But Micah's eyes said he was not convinced, and Beverly knew the conversation was not over. It was simply postponed. She returned to her cinnamon rolls, her children's chatter washing over her like warm water, and tried to convince herself that the letter in her pocket was not the beginning of the end. 3 days passed like sand through an hourglass, each grain bringing Beverly closer to something she could not name and could not avoid. She prepared obsessively. Financial records organized in color-coded folders. Receipt books dated and alphabetized. Tax returns printed and ready. If Sterling Industries wanted to audit her little bakery, they would find everything in perfect order. They would find nothing to question, nothing to probe, nothing that would require escalation to higher authorities. Nothing that would bring Jasper Sterling's attention to a small town in the middle of nowhere. She hoped. The morning of the audit arrived wrapped in autumn sunshine, the kind of golden light that made everything look like a postcard. Beverly dressed carefully, choosing a navy blouse that said professional beneath her flour-dusted apron. She pulled her hair back in her neatest braid, applied enough makeup to look competent but not overdone, and told herself that the trembling in her hands was from too much coffee and not enough sleep. The twins were stationed in the back room, tablets loaded with games and educational apps, a plate of fresh cookies within reach. Stay here and be good, Beverly had instructed. These are important business people, and Mama needs to focus. Maya had nodded solemnly. We will be invisible. Invisible is not a real thing, Micah had countered. But we will be quiet. Good enough. The auditors arrived at precisely 9 o'clock, a team of 3 corporate professionals in suits that cost more than Beverly's monthly revenue. 2 men and 1 woman, all with tablets and serious expressions and the particular kind of polish that came from existing entirely within the corporate world. Miss Hills. The woman extended her hand, her grip firm and brief. I am Patricia Vance, Lead Compliance Officer for Sterling Industries Regional Holdings. These are my associates, Mr. Chen and Mr. Whitmore. We appreciate your cooperation with this routine assessment. Of course. Beverly shook each hand in turn, her smile firmly in place. I have all my records prepared. Can I offer anyone coffee? Pastries? We are fine, thank you. Patricia Vance was already scanning the bakery with clinical efficiency, her eyes cataloging the vintage coffee grinder, the chalkboard menus, the children's artwork on the walls. Beverly saw her gaze linger on a family photo near the register, one that showed Beverly and the twins at a pumpkin patch last fall. Just the 3 of you? Patricia asked, her voice carefully neutral. Just us. Beverly matched her neutrality with practiced ease. Shall we get started? For the next 2 hours, Beverly answered questions about zoning compliance and fire safety and health inspections and profit margins. She produced documents on demand, explained her accounting systems, described her supply chain and staffing arrangements. The auditors were thorough but not unkind, professional but not cold. And slowly, gradually, Beverly began to relax. This was routine. This was standard. This had nothing to do with the man whose name was emblazoned on their tablets, whose company now owned the building where she had built her life. She was going to be fine. Your records are exemplary, Patricia Vance said finally, closing her tablet with a satisfied click. I wish all our small business tenants were this organized. Thank you. The relief that flooded through Beverly was almost dizzying. I believe in keeping things in order. It shows. Patricia glanced at her colleagues, some silent communication passing between them. I think we have everything we need. We will file our report by end of week, but I do not anticipate any issues. That is wonderful to hear. Beverly was already mentally composing the deep breath she would take once they left, the glass of wine she would pour after the twins went to bed, the celebratory dance she would do alone in her kitchen. And then the front door opened. And the world stopped. He stood in the doorway like a photograph come to life, silhouetted against the morning light in a way that seemed deliberately dramatic. 7 years had changed him, added silver to his temples and lines around his eyes, but Beverly would have known him anywhere. Would have known him in the dark, in a crowd, in the afterlife if such a thing existed. Jasper Sterling. The man who had promised her forever and delivered nothing. The man who had chosen his company over her heart. The man who had no idea he had fathered twins who were currently sitting in the back room, 20 feet away, playing games on their tablets and eating cookies shaped like stars. Their eyes met across the bakery, across 7 years of silence and pain and carefully constructed new lives. Beverly saw recognition dawn on his face like sunrise over a battlefield, watched his composure flicker and then reassemble itself. Beverly. Her name in his mouth was a wound she had thought had scarred over. I did not expect. I saw the address on the acquisition documents and I had to see for myself if it was really. He stopped. Swallowed. His eyes were cataloging her face with an intensity that made her skin prickle, searching for changes, finding them, processing them. Mr. Sterling. Beverly kept her voice level through sheer force of will. I was not aware corporate executives personally attended routine compliance reviews. They do not. He stepped fully into the bakery, and it was like watching a panther enter a dollhouse. Everything suddenly seemed too small, too fragile. I saw your name. This address. I needed to know if it was really you. Well. Now you know. Is there something I can help you with? The auditors had gone very still, their professional facades cracking slightly under the weight of whatever tension was filling the room like smoke. Patricia Vance looked between Beverly and Jasper with naked curiosity, clearly trying to piece together a story that was none of her business. I think we are finished here, she said carefully. Mr. Sterling, we were just wrapping up. Miss Hills has exemplary records. No issues to report. Good. Jasper barely glanced at her. Thank you, Patricia. You can go. The dismissal was absolute, the kind of directive that came from a man who was used to being obeyed without question. Patricia Vance nodded, gestured to her colleagues, and within moments the auditors had gathered their tablets and briefcases and retreated through the front door. Leaving Beverly alone with the man who had broken her heart. No. Not alone. From the back room, Beverly heard Maya's voice, bright and excited. "Mama, can we frost the cupcakes now? I have been patient for forever." And before Beverly could respond, before she could intercept, before she could do anything at all, the kitchen door swung open and her daughter burst through. Maya was a vision of impatient 6-year-old energy, purple apron tied crookedly around her waist, flour somehow already dusting her dark curls despite Beverly's best efforts to keep her contained. She was holding a tray of unfrosted cupcakes, her face alight with the particular joy of someone who was about to create something beautiful. "Look, Mama, I did not even eat any of the batter this time." "Well, maybe a little bit. But only a little bit, and..." She stopped. Her eyes, those striking green eyes that had always seemed out of place in their small-town life, fixed on Jasper Sterling with the fearless curiosity of a child who had not yet learned to distrust strangers. "Who are you?" she asked, head tilting to one side like a curious bird. "Are you buying cupcakes? You should. They are really good. Mama makes the best cupcakes in the whole world, probably." Beverly watched Jasper's face. She watched him see Maya. Really see her. She watched him take in the green eyes. The shape of her jaw. The particular tilt of her head that was so achingly familiar because Beverly had seen it 1,000 times in the mirror, in photographs, in the face of the man she had once loved. She watched the color drain from his face like water from a broken vessel. She watched him understand. Jasper's voice emerged rough, shattered. Baby. Beverly moved then, instinct overriding paralysis, positioning herself between her daughter and the man who did not know he was her father. "These are just business people. Why do not you take the cupcakes to the back and check on your brother? Make sure he is not building towers out of cookies again." "But I want to." Maya began. "Maya. Please." Something in Beverly's voice, some note of urgency that 6-year-olds could sense even if they could not name, made Maya's eyes go wide. She looked at Jasper again, then at her mother, then back at Jasper. "Okay, Mama," she said quietly. "I will check on Micah." And she disappeared back through the kitchen door, taking her cupcakes and her curiosity and her inherited green eyes with her. The silence that followed was suffocating. "How old is she?" Jasper's voice was barely audible. 6. Her birthday is February 14th. And that was when the mathematics of betrayal resolved in Jasper Sterling's mind, and he asked the question that changed everything. "They are mine." Before we continue with this confrontation that is about to reshape 4 lives forever, I need to speak directly to you for just a moment. I know why you are still watching. I know that something about this story has grabbed you by the heart and is not letting go. Maybe you have been Beverly, hiding a secret so big it could destroy everything you have built. Maybe you have been Jasper, discovering that life continued without you in ways you never imagined. Maybe you are just someone who believes in the messy, complicated reality of human relationships. Whatever brought you here, I am glad you stayed. I am building something special on Mr. Dawson's stories. A community of people who understand that life is not simple, that love is not easy, and that sometimes the most broken things can become the most beautiful if we have the courage to try again. If this story is resonating with you, if you can feel the weight of 7 years of secrets pressing down on this bakery like a storm about to break, I need you to do something for me right now. Hit that like button. Not later when you might forget. Right now, while the emotion is fresh. Subscribe if you are not already part of this family, because trust me, what happens next is going to test everything you think you know about forgiveness, redemption, and second chances. And drop a comment below. Tell me, do you think Jasper deserves to know his children? Do you think Beverly was right to keep them hidden? I read every single comment, and I want to know what you think. Now, back to Sunrise Bakery, where a billionaire has just discovered that his past is not as dead as he believed. "They are mine." Jasper said it again, and this time it was not a question. It was a statement. A realization. An earthquake restructuring the landscape of everything he thought he knew about his life. "Biologically," Beverly replied, her voice steady despite the trembling she could feel in her bones. "In every other way that matters, that remains to be seen." 7 years, Beverly. His voice cracked on her name. 7 years. I have 2 children, and for 7 years, I did not know they existed. There is another one. She confirmed what he had already guessed. A boy. Micah. They are twins. Twins. Jasper repeated the word like it was a language he did not speak. I have twins. Yes. Why? The single syllable contained 7 years of questions, and Beverly felt every single one of them land like blows. Why did you not tell me? Jasper pressed forward, his corporate composure completely shattered. Why did you hide them? Why did you run? I thought we were. You thought we were what? Beverly's carefully maintained control finally cracked, letting through a sliver of the anger she had carried for 7 years. You thought we were a priority? You thought we were important? Because I remember something different, Jasper. I remember being told that Sterling Industries had to come first. I remember being promised that we would have time for us after the merger, after the expansion, after whatever milestone came next. I remember waiting and waiting for a someday that never arrived. I was young. Jasper ran a hand through his silver-touched hair, the gesture so familiar it made Beverly's chest ache. I was stupid. I was. You were clear. Beverly cut him off. You were absolutely clear about where I ranked in your priorities. And when I found out I was pregnant, when I came to your office to tell you, do you know what happened? Jasper went very still. When you came to my office? 2 days after we ended things. I found out I was pregnant, and despite everything, I thought you deserved to know. I thought maybe this would change things. I thought. She stopped. Swallowed. Forced herself to continue. I thought wrong. I walked into Sterling Industries headquarters, pregnant with your children, terrified and hopeful and completely alone. And your assistant, that perfectly polished woman who guarded your calendar like a dragon guards gold, she looked at me and said Mr. Sterling is unavailable for personal matters. She offered to schedule an appointment for the following month. The following month, Jasper. Like I was a vendor trying to sell you office supplies. Beverly, I did not know. No. You did not. Because you made yourself completely unreachable to anything that was not Sterling Industries. You built walls so high that nothing personal could get through. And I realized, standing in that lobby with your security guards looking at me like I was something to be removed, that if I stayed, if I fought to reach you, my children would grow up feeling exactly like I did. They would grow up knowing they came second to spreadsheets and stockholders. They would grow up waiting for a father who was always too busy. She took a breath, steadying herself. So I left. I started over. I built a life where they would never feel like an afterthought. And yes, Jasper, that life did not include you. Because you had made it very clear that there was no room in your life for anything that was not your company. The words fell between them like stones into still water, each one sending ripples through 7 years of silence. Jasper stood very still, his face a map of emotions Beverly could not quite read. Shock. Grief. Something that might have been shame. Something that might have been the beginning of understanding. I am sorry. His voice was barely audible. I am so sorry. Sorry does not change anything. I know. But it is true. I was selfish, and careless, and so focused on building something that I did not realize I was destroying everything that mattered. I do not expect you to forgive me. I do not deserve forgiveness. But Beverly, please. He stepped forward, and for a moment, Beverly thought he might reach for her. He stopped himself. Please let me know them. Let me try to be their father. I know I have missed 7 years. I know I can never get that time back. But please, give me a chance to be there for the next 7. And the 7 after that. For as long as they will have me. There was something in his voice that Beverly had never heard before. Not in all the months they had been together, not in all the promises he had made. Something raw and real and terrifyingly vulnerable. He was not negotiating. He was begging. And despite everything, despite 7 years of anger and pain and the walls she had built so carefully around her heart, Beverly found herself wanting to believe him. Mama? The small voice came from the kitchen doorway. Micah stood there, architecture book clutched against his chest like a shield, his dark eyes taking in the scene with uncomfortable perception. Maya hovered behind him, one hand gripping her brother's sleeve. Is everything okay? Micah asked. You have been talking for a really long time. And that man looks like he has been crying. He did. Beverly realized with a start that Jasper's eyes were wet, the first tears she had ever seen him shed in all the time she had known him. Everything is okay, baby. Beverly held out her hand, and both children moved toward her immediately, instinctively seeking the shelter they had always found at her side. We are just having a grown-up conversation. About what? Maya asked, her green eyes fixed on Jasper with renewed curiosity. Why is he sad? Jasper seemed to struggle for words, his usual eloquence completely absent. I am sad because I just learned that I missed something very important. For a very long time. What did you miss? Maya pressed. Jasper looked at Beverly, silently asking permission. After a long moment, she gave the slightest nod. You. Jasper's voice was rough with emotion he was not bothering to hide. Both of you. I am your father, and I did not know you existed until about 15 minutes ago. I am very sorry about that. The twins absorbed this information with the eerie synchronicity of siblings who had spent their entire existence in each other's orbit. They exchanged a look, conducted some invisible negotiation, and then Micah spoke. If you are our dad, why were you not here before? It was a fair question, direct and cutting, delivered with the particular honesty of children who had not yet learned to soften their words. Because your mother and I made some mistakes a long time ago. Jasper crouched down, bringing himself to their level. She needed to protect you, and I was not someone worth knowing back then. I was too focused on work and not focused enough on what really mattered. Are you someone worth knowing now? Micah asked, his tone analytical rather than hostile. I am trying to be. I would like the chance to show you, if you will let me. Micah considered this, his small face serious. Then he pulled his architecture book forward and opened it to a page covered in his meticulous sketches. Do you know anything about structural engineering? I have been trying to figure out how cantilevers work, but Mama says it is beyond third-grade math. The sudden shift was so unexpected that Beverly almost laughed. But Jasper leaned forward, studying Micah's drawings with what appeared to be genuine interest. Actually, I studied structural engineering before I switched to business. These sketches are impressive. You have a real eye for load-bearing design. And just like that, father and son were lost in a conversation about cantilevers and suspension bridges and the mathematics of keeping buildings from falling down. Maya tugged on Beverly's hand and whispered, boys are boring sometimes. Sometimes, Beverly agreed quietly. But it is nice that they found something to talk about. It was nice, she admitted privately. Watching Jasper engage with Micah on his level, not talking down or oversimplifying, treating a 6-year-old's interests as valid and worth discussing seriously. This was the Jasper she had fallen in love with 7 years ago. The one who paid attention, who made people feel seen, who brought genuine curiosity to every interaction. She had forgotten he could be like this. Or maybe she had forced herself to forget, because remembering made the betrayal hurt worse. What about dragons? Maya interrupted the architectural discussion with the confidence of someone who knew her interests were equally important. Do you know anything about dragons? Jasper turned to her, his expression softening. I know a little bit. What kind of dragons do you like best? Purple ones. Maya was clearly testing him. They are the best color. I completely agree. Purple dragons are absolutely the best. Do you have a favorite purple dragon? Queen Dragonfire. She protects the castle from bad guys and she can breathe purple fire and she is not scared of anything. She sounds amazing. Jasper's voice was thick with emotion he was barely containing. Just like you. Maya beamed, apparently satisfied with this response. I like him, she announced to Beverly. He has good opinions about dragons. That is important, Beverly managed, her throat tight with feelings she did not want to examine. Can he stay for dinner? Maya pressed. If he is our dad, he should eat with us. That is what families do. Beverly had not anticipated the question, had not anticipated any of this. But her children were looking at her with identical hopeful expressions, and Jasper was watching her with something that looked heartbreakingly like hope, and she found herself unable to refuse. If he wants to, she said carefully. I would love to. Jasper rose from his crouch, meeting Beverly's eyes over the children's heads. If that is okay with everyone. It has to be spaghetti, Maya stipulated. With the good sauce. And garlic bread, Micah added. The homemade kind, not the frozen kind. I think we can manage that. Beverly looked at Jasper. 6 o'clock. Do not be late. I would not dream of it, he replied, and for the first time in 7 years, she almost believed him. The hours between the bakery confrontation and dinner passed in a blur of anxiety and preparation and second-guessing every decision Beverly had ever made. She closed the bakery early, claiming a family emergency to the handful of afternoon regulars who looked disappointed but understanding. The twins helped her clean up, their chatter more animated than usual, full of questions about the strange man who claimed to be their father. Where does he live? Maya asked while they wiped down tables. New York. That is far away. Will he visit? I do not know yet. We are still figuring things out. Does he have a dog? Micah called from the kitchen, where he was supposedly putting away dishes but was actually building towers out of measuring cups. I do not think so. He should get one. Dogs are good for people who live alone. How do you know he lives alone? He looked lonely. Micah appeared in the doorway, a mixing bowl balanced on his head like a helmet. People who are not lonely do not cry when they meet their kids for the first time. They are too busy being happy. The observation hit Beverly somewhere deep in her chest. When had her son become so perceptive about adult emotions? You might be right, she admitted. Now finish putting away those dishes properly. We have a lot of cooking to do. By 5:30, the small apartment above the bakery was filled with the smell of simmering tomato sauce and fresh baked garlic bread. Beverly had changed into a soft sweater and jeans, telling herself the outfit had nothing to do with looking nice and everything to do with comfort. The twins were in their best casual clothes, Maya in her favorite purple dress, Micah in a button-down shirt he had agreed to wear only under significant protest. When the knock came at exactly 6 o'clock, all three of them froze. I will get it. Maya was already racing for the door before Beverly could intercept her. Maya, wait. But it was too late. The door swung open, revealing Jasper Sterling standing in the hallway, looking more uncertain than Beverly had ever seen him. He had changed out of his corporate armor into dark jeans and a simple blue sweater, as if trying to prove he could be casual, could be normal, could be something other than the billionaire who had broken her heart. In his hands, he held 2 wrapped packages and a bottle of wine. I brought presents, he said, then immediately looked like he regretted it. Not because I am trying to buy your affection. Your mother and I will need to discuss guidelines about gifts. I just thought. I wanted to give you something. For the first time. What is it? Maya was already reaching for the packages. Can we open them now? After dinner. Beverly finally reached the door, gently moving Maya aside. Come in. Dinner is almost ready. Jasper stepped into the apartment, his eyes sweeping the space with unconcealed curiosity. It was not large, 3 bedrooms and a combined living and dining area, but Beverly had made it warm and welcoming. The walls were covered with the twins' artwork, Maya's colorful dragon kingdoms and Micah's precisely drawn buildings. Family photos documented 7 years of birthdays and holidays and ordinary Tuesday afternoons. 7 years of life without him. You built a beautiful home, Jasper said quietly. I built a safe home. Beverly took the wine bottle from his hands. Beautiful was not the goal. That is why it is beautiful, he replied. Because it is real. She did not know what to say to that, so she retreated to the kitchen, leaving him to navigate the children's questions alone. Do you want to see my room? Maya was already tugging at his hand. I have a dragon collection. Queen Dragonfire is the biggest one. I would love to see it. If she gets to show her room, Micah protested, I get to show mine. Mine has blueprints. I want to see both. Jasper let himself be led down the hallway, twin tour guides flanking him on either side. We will start with Maya's, then Micah's. Fair. Fair, both children agreed. Beverly listened to their voices fade down the hall, followed by exclamations of wonder and the rapid-fire explanations of children showing treasured possessions to someone who mattered. She stood in her kitchen, hands braced against the counter, and tried to remember how to breathe. This was happening. Jasper Sterling was in her apartment, meeting her children, becoming real in a way he had never been before. The secret she had kept for 7 years was unraveling, thread by thread, and she had no idea what kind of fabric would emerge from the chaos. The tour of the bedrooms took 20 minutes, which gave Beverly enough time to compose herself and finish preparing dinner. By the time the 3 of them returned to the living area, she had transformed her anxiety into productivity, setting the table with their nicest dishes and arranging the garlic bread in a basket that made it look almost professional. Your children are remarkable, Jasper said, taking a seat at the small dining table. Maya showed me every dragon in her collection and told me their names and personalities. And Micah explained his blueprint organizational system. It is more sophisticated than some of my company's filing structures. They are special. Beverly served the spaghetti, forcing herself not to overthink every motion. They have had to be. The unspoken words hung in the air. They have had to be, because you were not here. They have had to be, because I raised them alone. They have had to be, because life does not give breaks to people who need them most. Jasper heard what she did not say. His face tightened with something that might have been guilt. I am sorry. The words were quiet but intense. I know sorry is not enough. I know it does not change anything. But I need you to know that I am sorry for every moment I missed. Every bedtime story I did not read. Every birthday candle I did not help blow out. Every scraped knee I did not bandage. I will spend the rest of my life being sorry for those things. Mama bandaged our knees, Micah said matter-of-factly, twirling spaghetti around his fork. She is really good at it. She always knows if it needs a bandage or just a kiss. Both, Maya added. Usually both. The simple words, delivered with complete confidence in their mother's capabilities, hit harder than any accusation could have. Beverly saw Jasper swallow, saw him struggle to maintain composure. "She sounds like an amazing mother," he said. "She is the best one," Maya confirmed. "Even when she burns the pancakes, which is sometimes, she still makes them taste good by putting extra syrup." "I do not burn them that often." Beverly felt a flush creeping up her neck. "Your daughter is exaggerating." "Only a little bit," Maya conceded generously. The rest of dinner passed in a rhythm that surprised Beverly with its normalcy. The twins dominated the conversation, telling Jasper about school and friends and the elaborate fantasy world they had constructed together involving purple dragons and architectural marvels. Jasper listened intently, asked questions, laughed at their jokes even when they did not quite make sense. He was good with them. Patient. Engaged. Genuinely interested rather than simply tolerating. It was exactly what she had hoped he would be, if she had ever allowed herself to hope. And it was exactly what she had feared, because if Jasper proved himself capable of being a real father, she would have to confront the walls she had built and ask whether they were still necessary or had become a prison of her own making. After dinner, the presents were finally opened. Maya tore into hers with characteristic enthusiasm, revealing a sketch pad with purple dragon embossing and a set of professional quality art supplies. "These are so fancy," she breathed, running her fingers over the colored pencils. "Mama, look. They have glitter in them." "I see that." Beverly watched Jasper watching Maya, saw the raw joy on his face at her delight. Micah opened his gift more carefully, peeling back the paper to reveal a book on famous architects throughout history, along with a small wooden model building kit. Frank Lloyd Wright. Micah's eyes went wide. "And Zaha Hadid. And I can build the models myself." "The book covers 50 architects," Jasper explained. "And there are 12 different model kits that teach different structural principles. I thought you might like to work through them. Maybe, if your mother allows it, I could help with some of them." Micah looked at Beverly, his face a mixture of hope and uncertainty that broke her heart. "Can he? We will figure out a schedule." Beverly made her voice steady despite the chaos of emotions beneath. "Right now, it is getting close to bedtime." The children's protests were predictable but brief. They were clearly exhausted from the emotional weight of the day, even if they did not understand it. Maya hugged Jasper goodbye with characteristic enthusiasm. Micah offered a more reserved handshake that somehow meant just as much. After the twins disappeared to brush their teeth, Beverly and Jasper stood in her living room, the distance between them measured in both feet and years. "Thank you," he said. "For tonight. For letting me meet them. For giving me a chance I do not deserve. I did not do it for you." The words came out sharper than she intended. "I did it for them. They deserve to know their father. Whether you deserve to know them is something we will determine over time. I understand. And I will do whatever it takes to prove myself. Whatever boundaries you set, whatever rules you make, I will follow them. Just tell me what you need." Beverly considered him carefully. The polished billionaire who had walked into her bakery this morning was gone, replaced by someone who looked genuinely uncertain, genuinely desperate to make things right. She wanted to believe him. That was the terrifying part. "Monthly visits," she said finally. "Supervised. No overnights until I am comfortable with your consistency. Weekly video calls if the children want them. No excessive gifts, no trying to be the fun parent while I do the hard work. And if you commit to this, you commit completely. You do not get to decide 6 months from now that fatherhood is inconvenient. You do not get to disappear because work is busy or something more interesting comes along. I will not." The promise in his voice was fierce. "I swear to you, Beverly. I will not let them down the way I let you down. Time will tell." She moved toward the door, a clear signal that the evening was ending. 6 months. Prove yourself for 6 months, and we will reevaluate. I will. He paused at the threshold, his hand on the door frame. "Beverly, I know I destroyed your trust. I know sorry does not begin to cover what I did. But I want you to know that I have thought about you. Every day since you left. I have wondered where you were, if you were okay, if there was any chance." He stopped. Swallowed. "I never stopped wondering. And now, finding you here, finding them. It feels like a second chance I did not earn. I am going to try to be worthy of it. That is all I can promise." He left before she could respond. Beverly closed the door behind him and leaned against it, her legs suddenly unsteady. Her carefully constructed world was shifting, restructuring itself around a new variable she had never anticipated. And she had no idea whether the new foundation would hold or whether everything she had built was about to come crashing down. From down the hall, Maya's voice called out. "Mama, can you read us a story? And maybe tell us about our dad. The real story, not the grown-up complicated version." "Coming, baby." Beverly pushed herself away from the door and walked toward her children, toward the only certainty she had left in a world that had suddenly become very uncertain indeed. The weeks that followed existed in a strange new rhythm, like a song Beverly had never heard but somehow knew the melody to. Jasper kept his word. Every single promise, every single commitment, he honored without fail. The first video call happened 3 days after the dinner, scheduled for 7 in the evening when the twins were bathed and pajama-clad and theoretically ready for bed. Beverly sat just outside the frame, close enough to monitor but far enough to give them space. "Can you see us?" Maya was practically vibrating with excitement, her face so close to the screen that all Jasper could probably see was her nose. "Can you see my pajamas? They have dragons on them." "I can see." Jasper's voice came through the speaker, warm and amused. "Those are excellent dragon pajamas. They are purple dragons." Maya pulled back slightly, allowing the full glory of her sleepwear to be appreciated. "Mama got them for my birthday. Your mother has good taste. She has the best taste." Maya delivered this assessment with complete confidence. "Micah, come show him your pajamas." "My pajamas are just blue." Micah appeared in the frame, less enthusiastic but clearly interested. "They do not have anything on them." "Blue is a very respectable color," Jasper offered. "Simple. Classic. Like you." Micah considered this, then nodded with apparent satisfaction. "I finished the first chapter of the architecture book you gave me. Did you know that the pyramids were built without any metal tools? Just stone and copper." "I did know that. But tell me more about what you learned." And Micah was off, explaining ancient Egyptian construction techniques with the passionate intensity of someone who had found their calling. Beverly listened from her position just outside the doorway, watching her son come alive in a way she had rarely seen before. He had always been interested in buildings, always sketching and questioning and trying to understand how things worked. But there had never been anyone in his life who shared that interest, who could engage with his questions as an equal rather than a patient bystander. Until now. The call lasted the agreed-upon 15 minutes, ending with Maya blowing kisses at the screen and Micah offering a small wave that meant more than he would ever admit. "Same time Friday?" Jasper asked. "Same time Friday," Beverly confirmed from off-screen. And that became their routine. Video calls on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Each one slightly longer than the last as everyone relaxed into the new dynamic. Maya showed Jasper her drawings and taught him the names of all her dragons. Micah explained his latest building sketches and asked increasingly complex questions about structural engineering. Jasper listened, engaged, remembered details from previous conversations, and treated their 6-year-old concerns with the same seriousness he probably gave board presentations. He was good at this, Beverly admitted privately. Better than she had expected. Better than she had feared. The first in-person visit came 3 weeks after the bakery confrontation, on a Saturday morning that dawned crisp and golden with autumn light. Jasper arrived at the park they had agreed upon, neutral territory that belonged to neither of them. He was early. Beverly watched from her car as he paced near the entrance, checking his phone repeatedly, clearly nervous in a way that made him seem almost human. When she and the twins approached, his whole face transformed. The corporate mask dissolved, replaced by something genuine and unguarded and achingly hopeful. "Hi." He crouched down to the children's level as they reached him. "I brought something, but I want to be clear. This is not about buying your affection. Your mom and I discussed appropriate gifts, and I think these fall within the guidelines." He produced 2 wrapped packages from behind his back. Maya seized hers immediately, tearing into the paper with characteristic enthusiasm. A sketchbook emerged, similar to the one he had given before but filled with drawing prompts specifically about dragons. 150 dragon drawing ideas. She read the cover with wide eyes. 150. That is more than I can even count. You can count that high, Micah corrected. You just do not want to. Counting is boring. Drawing dragons is not boring. She was already flipping through the pages. Look, there is one about drawing a dragon doing laundry. That is so silly. Micah's gift was a small architectural model kit, this one focused on bridge construction. Suspension bridges. He examined the box with serious attention. These are some of the most complicated structures to build. They are, Jasper agreed. But I thought you might be up for the challenge. Can you help me build it? I would love to. If that is okay with your mom. Both children turned to Beverly with identical hopeful expressions. That is what we are here for, she said. Spending time together. The park first, then we will see about the model. The morning unfolded in ways Beverly had not anticipated. She had expected awkwardness, tension, the uncomfortable reality of two adults navigating a shared past while two children tried to understand their place in it. Instead, she watched Jasper push Maya on the swings, his expensive sweater collecting playground dirt without a single complaint. She watched him examine the bridge construction on the park's climbing structure with Micah, explaining how weight was distributed across different support points. She watched her children open to him like flowers towards sunlight, eager and trusting and completely unaware of the complicated history that had brought them to this moment. He is really trying. The thought surfaced unbidden, uncomfortable in its implications. He is really, genuinely trying. By noon, all four of them were seated at a picnic table, sharing sandwiches Beverly had packed that morning. Mama makes the best sandwiches, Maya informed Jasper through a mouthful of peanut butter and jelly. Even the ones with vegetables in them. I do not doubt it. Jasper glanced at Beverly with something that might have been admiration. Your mother seems to be good at everything. Not everything. Beverly kept her voice neutral. I am terrible at video games. The children beat me every time. That is because you do not practice. Micah's tone carried the particular exasperation of a child who had tried repeatedly to explain something obvious to an adult. If you practiced, you would get better. Maybe. But I have a bakery to run and children to raise. Video game practice falls pretty low on the priority list. Work-life balance is important, Jasper said quietly. Something I learned too late. The comment hung in the air, weighted with unspoken history. Beverly met his eyes for a moment, saw the genuine regret there, and looked away before she could soften too much. The afternoon continued. More playground time. A walk around the park's small lake. Ice cream from a cart despite the autumn chill, because Maya insisted and Jasper seemed incapable of denying her anything. By 4 o'clock, both children were exhausted, their energy finally depleted by the emotional and physical demands of the day. Can you come to dinner again? Maya asked as they prepared to leave. You could meet Butterscotch. He is our fish. He is orange, but I wanted to name him something fancy. Maybe next time, Beverly interjected. Today was a big day. We should probably ease into things. Your mother is right. Jasper crouched to Maya's level. I do not want to overwhelm anyone. But I will be back in 2 weeks. And we can video chat before then. Some people are built for power. And some people are built for small-town bakeries. You were never going to be enough for him. After dinner, after the children were tucked into the beds they now kept at Jasper's house, Beverly stood in his living room and could not stop shaking. She was going to leave. The walls were going to go back up. The brief beautiful hope of the past 7 months was going to be locked away behind the armor she had spent so long constructing. And then Jasper was there, standing in front of her, his hands gentle on her shoulders. "She is wrong," he said. "About everything. Beverly, look at me. Please." She looked. And saw something in his eyes that terrified her. "You are everything," he said. "You built a life from nothing. You raised 2 incredible children alone. You created a business that supports a community. You did all of that without any help from me, without any advantage, without anything except your own determination and strength. If anyone is not enough in this equation, it is me. It has always been me." "She does not think so." Beverly's voice was barely a whisper. "She thinks I am just a small-town baker who got lucky. Veronica is a person who measures worth in dollar signs and power plays. She has never understood real value. She never understood me. And she certainly does not understand you." He took a breath. "I am going to tell you something, and I need you to hear it. Really hear it. When I was with Veronica, when I was building my empire, when I was doing everything that was supposed to make me successful, I was miserable. I woke up every morning feeling empty. I went to bed every night knowing something was missing. I had everything society says you should want, and I had never been more alone in my life." He cupped her face in his hands. "But here, in this small town, in your kitchen, watching you help our children with homework, eating dinners that were not catered by expensive restaurants, just living a normal life with normal people. I am happy. For the first time in 7 years, I am actually happy. And that is not because of the town or the house or the slower pace of life. It is because of you. It is because you are here. It is because I finally get to be near you again." Beverly felt tears threatening. "I am scared. I know. I am scared that you will wake up one day and realize she was right. That you will get bored. That you will miss your real life. That we will not be enough. I understand. But Beverly, I need you to understand something too. That world, that life, it was never real. It was a performance. A very expensive, very exhausting performance that I maintained because I did not know there was another option. This is real. You are real. Our children are real. And I would rather have one ordinary day with all of you than 1,000 extraordinary days alone." He pulled her close, his arms wrapping around her, and Beverly let herself be held. She had spent 7 years learning to stand alone. Learning that she did not need anyone. Learning that she was complete unto herself. But maybe complete did not mean isolated. Maybe strength did not mean solitude. Maybe she had built her walls so high that she had forgotten what it felt like to let someone stand beside her rather than outside. "I need time," she said against his chest. "More time to believe this is real. Take all the time you need. I am not going anywhere." That night, Beverly could not sleep. She lay in the guest room Jasper had insisted she use rather than driving home after such an emotional evening. The twins were safe in their rooms down the hall. The house was quiet, warm, full of the particular peace that comes from family and home and belonging. But her mind was racing. Veronica's words. Jasper's declaration. 7 years of walls. 7 months of hope. She got up at 2 in the morning and walked through the dark house, her feet finding their way without conscious direction. Past the children's rooms, where she paused to listen to their soft breathing. Past the kitchen, where the remnants of dinner had been cleaned away. To the living room, where family photos were already appearing on the walls. Photos of Maya and Micah. Photos from their weekend visits. A photo from last month, all 4 of them at a local fair, cotton candy and laughter and the kind of ordinary joy that felt more precious than anything money could buy. He was building a life here. Not just visiting. Not just playing at fatherhood. Building. Planning. Putting down roots in soil that had seemed too foreign for a man who owned the world. For her. For them. Beverly sat on the couch in the darkness and let herself feel the weight of what that meant. She had been so focused on protecting herself that she had not noticed how hard he was working to earn her. Every visit. Every phone call. Every time he remembered Maya's favorite color or Micah's current architectural obsession. Every time he showed up when he said he would, did what he promised to do, proved that people could change if they wanted it badly enough. He wanted it. This life. This family. Her. The question was whether she was brave enough to want him back. The answer came 3 weeks later. They were at the bakery, an ordinary afternoon, the twins in the back doing homework while Beverly and Jasper manned the counter during a slow period. They had fallen into this rhythm, Jasper helping out when his schedule allowed, learning the difference between croissants and danishes, charming the regular customers with his unexpected ability to remember their usual orders. "Can I ask you something?" Beverly set down the coffee pot she had been refilling. "Not as co-parents. Just as us." Jasper went very still. "Anything. Why did you really come that day?" "The audit day. You said you saw the address and had to see for yourself." "But why? After 7 years, why did you care?" He was quiet for a long moment. "Because I never stopped wondering," he said finally. "Where you went. What happened to you. Whether you were okay. I hired private investigators 4 times in 7 years. I always called them off before they could find anything." "Why?" "Because I was afraid. Afraid you were happy without me. Afraid you had built a life that was better than anything I could have given you. Afraid that if I found you, I would have to admit that I had made the worst mistake of my life and that there was no way to fix it." He met her eyes. "But then the acquisition came through, and your name was on the tenant list, and I could not stop myself. I had to know. Even if it hurt. Even if you had moved on completely. I had to see you one more time." Beverly felt something crack in her chest. The last wall. The final defense. "I never moved on," she admitted. "I tried. I dated, briefly, years ago. But no one ever. They were not you." Jasper's breath caught. "Beverly. I am not ready to jump into anything." The words tumbled out before she could stop them. "I am not ready to pretend the past did not happen or that trust can be rebuilt overnight. But I am ready to try. To see who we are now. To give this, us, whatever this is, a real chance." For a moment, Jasper just stared at her. Then his face transformed with something so purely joyful that it made Beverly's heart stutter. "Are you saying what I think you are saying?" "I am saying I am tired of protecting myself from something that might be wonderful. I am saying I want to take you to dinner. A real dinner. Just us. I would love that." His voice was rough. "More than I know how to say." "Good. Friday. 7 o'clock. I will get Elena to watch the twins. It is a date. It is a date." Their first official date happened on a Friday evening, 8 months after Jasper had walked into her bakery and discovered he was a father. Elena, Beverly's assistant manager and closest friend, took the twins for the night. Both children were fully aware of what was happening and had offered unsolicited advice. "Tell her she looks pretty," Maya had instructed Jasper with the seriousness of a relationship expert. "Girls like that. Do not talk about work the whole time," Micah had added. "That is boring. Talk about interesting things. Like cantilevers." "I will keep both pieces of advice in mind," Jasper had promised solemnly. He picked Beverly up at her apartment at precisely 7, wearing a dark suit that was slightly less formal than his usual corporate armor. She wore a dress she had bought specifically for the occasion, something soft and green that made her feel pretty instead of just competent. "You look beautiful," he said when she opened the door. Elena was right, she realized. Maya had the right idea. Girls did like that. "Thank you. You look nice too." They went to a restaurant in the next town over, somewhere nice enough to feel special but not so upscale that Beverly felt out of place. Over dinner, they talked about everything and nothing. About the twins. About the bakery. About Jasper's slow transition away from constant involvement in Sterling Industries. About dreams and fears and the strange paths that had led them both to this moment. "Can I tell you something?" Jasper set down his wine glass. "Something I have never told anyone." "Of course. When you left 7 years ago, I told myself I was relieved. I told myself you were too demanding, too needy, too focused on things that did not matter. I told myself I was better off without the distraction." He paused. "I lied to myself for 3 years. 3 years of pretending I was fine. 3 years of filling my life with work and acquisitions and the kind of success that looks impressive on paper. And then one night, I was at a party. Some charity gala surrounded by beautiful people and expensive champagne and everything I was supposed to want. And I realized I would have traded all of it for one more dinner with you." Beverly felt tears prick at her eyes. "I kept cooking for 2. The confession slipped out before she could stop it. "For months after I left. I would make dinner and automatically reach for 2 plates. It took me almost a year to break the habit." Jasper reached across the table and took her hand. I am sorry. For all of it. For making you feel like you came second. For being so focused on building an empire that I forgot to build a life. For every dinner you ate alone. For every moment you needed me and I was not there. I know. She squeezed his hand. I believe you. And the strange thing was, she did. Not completely, not without reservation, but genuinely. She believed that he was sorry. She believed that he had changed. She believed that the man sitting across from her was not the same person who had broken her heart 7 years ago. People could change. If they wanted it badly enough. If they were willing to do the work. Jasper had done the work. Was still doing it. Would continue doing it for as long as she needed. The question was no longer whether he was worthy of another chance. The question was whether she was brave enough to give him one. I want to try, she said. Really try. Not just co-parenting with benefits. An actual relationship. But slow. I need slow. I can do slow. Jasper's smile was radiant. I can do anything you need. Just tell me what you want, and I will make it happen. I want honesty. Always. Even when it is hard. Especially when it is hard. Done. I want the children to come first. Always. If they are uncomfortable with any of this, we stop and reassess. Absolutely. And I want you to understand that I am not the same person I was 7 years ago. I am stronger now. More guarded. Less willing to compromise on things that matter. If that is a problem. It is not a problem. His voice was fierce. Your strength is one of the things I love most about you. I do not want you to be less guarded. I want to earn my way past your guards. Legitimately. Through time and actions and proving that I can be trusted. Love. The word hung in the air between them. I love you, Jasper said simply. I have loved you for 7 years, through separation and silence and the kind of regret that eats you from the inside. I do not expect you to say it back. I just need you to know it is true. Beverly looked at him. Really looked. Saw the vulnerability beneath the confidence. The hope beneath the fear. The man who had hurt her becoming the man who might heal her. I am not ready to say it yet, she said honestly. But I am not opposed to getting there. That is enough. For now, that is more than enough. They finished dinner. Took a walk through the quiet downtown of the neighboring town. Talked about nothing important and everything essential. And when Jasper drove her home and walked her to her door, the kiss that followed felt like the first page of a story they would write together. Not an ending. A beginning. The year that followed was not perfect. No year is. There were fights and misunderstandings and moments when old wounds reopened and trust had to be rebuilt from scratch. But there was also love. Growing slowly, strengthening daily, taking root in the ordinary moments that make up a life. Sunday dinners at Jasper's house. Maya teaching him to frost cupcakes at the bakery. Micah and Jasper building increasingly complex architectural models in the garage. Beverly learning to lean on someone after years of standing alone. The twins thrived. Having 2 parents, having stability and consistency and a father who showed up, transformed them in ways both subtle and profound. Maya's dragons became more elaborate, more confident, full of stories about dragon families who found each other after long separations. Micah's buildings grew more ambitious, designed now not just to stand but to shelter, to protect, to create space for the people who mattered. They were happy. Genuinely, deeply, quietly happy. And Beverly, who had sworn she would never let herself be vulnerable again, found that vulnerability was not weakness. It was the price of admission for something far more valuable than safety. It was the price of admission for love. On the 1-year anniversary of the audit that changed everything, they stood together at a community festival, watching the twins run through a maze of hay bales with their friends. We made it, Jasper said quietly. 1 year. We made it. Beverly leaned into him, his arm warm around her shoulders. I never thought we would. I hoped. Every single day. I hoped. She turned to face him, this man who had broken her heart and then spent a year carefully, patiently putting it back together. I love you, she said. The words felt strange in her mouth. Foreign. Dangerous. But also true. So impossibly, undeniably true. Jasper's face transformed with joy so pure it made her heart ache. I love you too. Always have. Always will. He kissed her there, in front of the hay bales and the festival games and anyone who cared to watch. And Beverly kissed him back, not caring about appearances, not caring about the gossip that would inevitably follow, caring only about this moment and this man and this life they were building together. Some stories end with a wedding. Some end with a grand gesture or a dramatic declaration or a happily ever after tied up with a perfect bow. This story ends differently. It ends with a family. Imperfect and complicated and still figuring things out. A mother who learned to trust again. A father who learned what really mattered. Two children who gained the parent they did not know they were missing. It ends with an ordinary Tuesday evening. Dinner at the table. Homework afterward. A bedtime story about purple dragons and the architects who built them castles. A quiet conversation on the porch after the children were asleep, about nothing in particular, everything essential. It ends with the understanding that second chances are not given. They are earned. Through time. Through patience. Through showing up when it would be easier to walk away. And it ends with hope. Not the naive hope of fairy tales, but the battle-tested hope of people who have been through the fire and emerged, scarred but stronger, ready to build something new. This is Mr. Dawson's Stories. If this story moved you, if you laughed or cried or saw yourself in Beverly's walls or Jasper's redemption, I need you to do something right now. Hit that like button. It sounds simple, but that single click tells the algorithm to share this story with more people who need to hear it. Subscribe and turn on notifications. Every week, I bring you stories like this one. Messy, real, ultimately hopeful tales about the human heart and its infinite capacity for healing. Drop a comment below. Tell me what you took from this story. Tell me about your own second chances, your own walls, your own moments of choosing love over fear. I read every single comment, and your stories inspire the stories I tell. And share this video. Send it to that friend who is afraid to trust again. Share it with someone navigating their own impossible situation. Spread the word that broken things can be rebuilt, that mistakes do not have to be permanent, that we can always choose differently. Thank you for spending this time with me. Thank you for investing in these characters and their journey. Remember, every day is a chance to write a better story. Every moment is an opportunity to choose love over fear, hope over cynicism, connection over isolation. This is Mr. Dawson, and I will see you in the next one.